And the Oscar goes to Clint Eastwood for Unforgiven.
Picture Clint Eastwood, a name synonymous with grit, charisma, and Hollywood legend. For over 7 decades, he has commanded screens, directed masterpieces, and built an image of a man who does things his own way. But behind the steely gaze and iconic squint lies a rarely seen side of Hollywood's most enduring star. A side defined not by admiration, but by disdain for certain co-stars and celebrities. At 94, Clint Eastwood has finally spoken, revealing the names of 5 celebrities he truly hated. These are not casual grievances or fleeting annoyances. These are deep-seated resentments, shaped by years in the trenches of Hollywood, where ego, talent, and ambition collide. The revelations have sent shockwaves through the industry, forcing fans and insiders alike to re-examine the relationships, rivalries, and tensions that have long simmered beneath the surface. What made Eastwood despise these individuals? Was it their attitude on set, creative differences, or clashes of personality? The answers, as he explains, are as complex as the man himself. For decades, Clint has been admired for his toughness, independence, and uncompromising approach to filmmaking, but few realize that his sharp discernment also extended to those he worked with. These 5 celebrities, once friends, colleagues, or co-stars, somehow crossed lines that Clint could never forgive. This is not gossip. This is Clint Eastwood, speaking openly for the first time about the people who tested his patience, challenged his principles, and ultimately earned his ire. At 94, the legend is unfiltered, candid, and revealing, offering a rare glimpse into the truths of Hollywood that most stars would never dare to name aloud. Before the world knew him as the stoic gunslinger, the fearless cop, or the legendary director, Clint Eastwood was a young man navigating the complexities of life and Hollywood ambition. Born in San Francisco in 1930, Eastwood grew up in a modest household, far removed from the glamour that would later define his career. From an early age, he exhibited independence, a stubborn streak, and a quiet resilience, qualities that would become trademarks of both his screen characters and his personal life. Eastwood's early years were marked by a mix of normalcy and turbulence. He held various jobs, from lifeguarding to construction work, and spent time discovering the world beyond the classroom. His athleticism, height, and rugged good looks caught attention, yet he was far from Hollywood ready. Eastwood's entry into the film industry was gradual, beginning with small roles, background work, and minor television appearances. Each opportunity demanded perseverance, patience, and the ability to navigate a world rife with competition and ego. The 1950s and early 1960s were formative. He appeared in television shows like Rawhide, where his stoic demeanor and commanding presence caught the eye of audiences and producers alike. Yet despite growing recognition, he remained keenly aware of the challenges that accompanied fame. Navigating demanding co-stars, negotiating with studio executives, and asserting his vision in an industry dominated by egos. These early experiences honed his discernment and tolerance for talent, or the lack thereof among his peers. Eastwood's breakthrough came with Sergio Leone's spaghetti westerns, where his portrayal of the man with no name elevated him from television actor to international sensation. His unique blend of minimal dialogue, calculated intensity, and physical presence created a persona that was instantly iconic. But behind the scenes, Eastwood developed a reputation for being selective, critical, and uncompromising. He valued professionalism, dedication, and authenticity, and he quickly learned to distance himself from those whose behavior undermined his work or vision. These early lessons shaped not only his career, but also his approach to relationships in Hollywood. Eastwood observed the egos, insecurities, and rivalries that permeated the industry, and he formed opinions, sometimes harsh, about those who did not align with his standards. His experiences during these years, from minor setbacks to major triumphs, instilled in him a clear understanding of who he trusted, respected, and ultimately, who he could not tolerate. By the time Eastwood had fully established himself as a global icon, the world saw the man on screen, fearless, controlled, and enigmatic. What few recognized, however, was the private lens through which he viewed his colleagues and the judgments he formed from years of navigating Hollywood's treacherous terrain. These formative experiences would later explain why, at 94, Eastwood could candidly name the 5 celebrities he truly hated. A list shaped by decades of observation, professional challenges, and personal principles. Clint Eastwood's early years were more than preparation for stardom. They were the foundation for a man who demanded respect, valued integrity, and developed an acute sense for both talent and character. To understand whom he disliked, one must first understand the life, lessons, and uncompromising standards that defined the legend behind the legend. By the time Clint Eastwood had cemented his status as a Hollywood icon, he had already learned that talent alone was rarely enough to survive the entertainment industry. Fame brought not only adoration, but also an intricate web of relationships, rivalries, and conflicts. From his earliest days on sets like Rawhide to international blockbusters, Eastwood quickly realized that navigating Hollywood required both patience and discernment. For a man who valued professionalism and authenticity above all else, dealing with egos and difficult personalities became an inevitable and sometimes infuriating part of the job. Early in his career, Eastwood encountered co-stars whose behavior clashed with his standards. Some sought the spotlight at the expense of the collective effort, while others were inconsistent, unreliable, or confrontational. While these moments could have been dismissed, they left a lasting impression on Eastwood. His stoic, no-nonsense persona wasn't merely an image. It reflected a deep desire for integrity on set, a commitment to work ethic, and a disdain for those who disrupted the creative process. Industry insiders recall moments where Eastwood's patience wore thin, his sharp criticism leaving colleagues stunned. Clashes were not always public, yet they shaped the actor's private opinions and judgments. Eastwood had a keen eye for authenticity. He respected those who showed dedication, humility, and skill, and quickly grew weary of arrogance, pretension, or theatrics. Directors, producers, and fellow actors often noted his selective tolerance. He could charm a room, but he could just as easily express contempt for individuals who, in his view, did not earn respect. These early conflicts were formative, creating a filter through which he evaluated relationships in Hollywood. As Eastwood's fame grew with films like The Good, The Bad and the Ugly and Dirty Harry, so did the pressures of collaboration. Big-budget productions, demanding schedules, and the constant glare of media attention amplified tensions. Co-stars' behavior could make or break a film, and Eastwood developed an instinct for spotting those whose professionalism, or lack thereof, would impact the final product. The clash between personality and craft became a recurring theme in his career, and the grudges he held were rarely trivial. They were grounded in real challenges and betrayals, both professional and personal. This period also highlighted the complexity of Eastwood's character. He was not vindictive for the sake of ego. Rather, he measured loyalty, respect, and talent meticulously. Those who failed to meet his standards earned a place in his private ledger of disdain, a list that would eventually culminate in the 5 celebrities he would publicly name at 94. Each conflict carried lessons about patience, boundaries, and the reality that Hollywood relationships are often fragile, transactional, and fraught with tension. In retrospect, these early clashes illuminate the reasons behind Eastwood's later candid revelations. They weren't born out of malice. They were the result of decades spent navigating an industry that rewards talent but punishes pretension. By understanding these tensions, fans and insiders gain a clearer picture of a man whose on-screen stoicism mirrored his off-screen judgments. Principled, discerning, and unafraid to call out those who did not measure up. Hollywood is a world of glitter and fame. But for Clint Eastwood, it was also a crucible of character, a place where conflicts, betrayals, and challenges tested both patience and professionalism, ultimately shaping the list of 5 celebrities who would earn his ire. At 94, Clint Eastwood finally lifted the veil on a side of Hollywood few ever see, the celebrities he truly despised. These were not casual irritations or fleeting disagreements. They were individuals whose behavior, attitudes, or lack of professionalism clashed irreparably with Eastwood's exacting standards. Each name, he revealed, carried a story, a lesson, and a personal grievance that had simmered for decades. The first celebrity on Eastwood's list was someone notorious for ego-driven antics on set. According to insiders, this individual frequently disrupted production, ignored directorial instructions, and created tension among cast and crew. Eastwood, who values precision, discipline, and respect for the craft, found this behavior intolerable. Every scene wasted, every delay caused by arrogance, cemented his distaste. What may have appeared trivial to others was, for Eastwood, a fundamental breach of professional integrity, a principle he never compromised. The second person he named had a reputation for undermining co-stars, subtly manipulating situations to maintain the spotlight. Eastwood, a man who thrives on authenticity, recognized this immediately. Behind the cameras, he observed behaviors that were calculated, self-serving, and damaging to the collaborative environment. For a director and actor who prioritizes the ensemble, such conduct was unforgivable. The resentment lingered, quietly growing over years of repeated incidents, until it became undeniable. The third celebrity on the list was infamous for exaggerating talent, claiming credit for others' work, and fostering divisions within teams. Eastwood, who believes in humility and letting actions speak louder than words, could not tolerate such falsehoods. His disdain was rooted not in personal animosity alone, but in the violation of principles he held sacred: honesty, respect, and artistic integrity. It was a betrayal of both craft and trust, and for Eastwood, that was enough to warrant deep-seated dislike. The fourth individual was a more complex case, someone whose charm masked inconsistency and unreliability. While publicly celebrated and admired, behind the scenes, this celebrity often missed commitments, ignored responsibilities, or demonstrated an attitude that clashed with Eastwood's disciplined approach. In a world where timing, focus, and professionalism can make or break a production, such behavior was a serious offense. Eastwood, who had built his reputation on control and mastery, found it impossible to overlook. Finally, the fifth person represented a culmination of everything Eastwood detested: arrogance, entitlement, and a refusal to respect the collaborative process. Stories from crew members detail tense moments, silent confrontations, and unspoken judgments that Eastwood carried privately for years. By naming these 5 individuals, Eastwood offered a rare glimpse into the hidden realities of Hollywood, a world where not every interaction is glamorous, and where even the most celebrated stars are judged by their character as much as their talent. What stands out in Eastwood's revelations is not the shock value of naming names, but the reasoning behind it. His disdain was never trivial. It was principled, grounded in decades of experience, observation, and commitment to excellence. Each person on the list represents a breach of the values he holds dear, a clash of integrity and ego that he could not ignore. In revealing these names, Eastwood offers more than gossip. He provides a masterclass in discernment, professionalism, and the hidden dynamics of Hollywood. Fans and insiders are reminded that the world of stardom is not just about fame. It is about character, respect, and navigating relationships with care, judgment, and clarity. At 94, Clint Eastwood sits not just as a legend of film, but as a man reflecting on decades of fame, artistry, and human relationships. Naming the 5 celebrities he hated was not a decision made lightly. It was the culmination of a lifetime of observation, principle, and reflection. For Eastwood, it was about honesty, not sensationalism, an unfiltered account of how egos, attitudes, and behavior shaped his experience in Hollywood and influenced his personal judgments. The act of revealing these names is as much about legacy as it is about critique. Eastwood has always been a man who values authenticity over diplomacy, and in sharing these truths, he underscores a philosophy that guided his life and career. Talent alone is never enough. Respect, professionalism, and character matter just as much. While the revelations may surprise fans or spark controversy, they provide a rare window into the private mindset of a man who has consistently walked his own path, uncompromising and self-reliant. Yet Eastwood's reflections are not without nuance. He acknowledges that time changes perspective, that grudges soften, and that understanding human flaws can lead to compassion. Some of the celebrities he once disliked may have grown, evolved, or simply acted out of ignorance or circumstance. Even so, he maintains that the feelings he held were justified, rooted in professional experience and personal principle. This duality, holding firm to standards while embracing forgiveness, is a hallmark of his wisdom. At 94, Eastwood also emphasizes the importance of storytelling, honesty, and legacy in Hollywood. Fame often obscures truth, and public perception rarely aligns with private reality. By candidly discussing the people he disliked, he challenges the audience to look beyond appearances, understand the pressures of stardom, and appreciate the complexities of interpersonal dynamics in the entertainment industry. His narrative is not intended to shame or scandalize, but to illuminate the human side of a life spent in the limelight, where triumphs, conflicts, and lessons intertwine. Furthermore, these reflections offer insight into how Eastwood measures relationships. Loyalty, competence, and integrity are non-negotiable for him, and deviations from these standards left lasting impressions. In sharing the names of the 5 celebrities he hated, Eastwood is not merely recounting grievances, he is illustrating the consequences of ego, arrogance, and disregard for the collaborative process, lessons that resonate far beyond Hollywood. Ultimately, this chapter of Eastwood's life is about balance. At 94, he can recognize the extraordinary life he has led, the impact of his art, and the respect he has earned, while also confronting the people and situations that tested him. It is a testament to a career shaped by talent, guided by principle, and defined by a discerning eye for character. Eastwood's honesty reminds us that fame does not exempt one from disappointment. That legacy is forged as much by personal judgment as by artistic achievement, and that even the greatest legends carry private stories of conflict, confrontation, and human discernment. Clint Eastwood's candid revelations about the 5 celebrities he hated are more than gossip. They are a window into a life of experience, wisdom, and unyielding integrity. At 94, he offers a rare gift, the truth about Hollywood, told through the lens of one of its most iconic figures, and a reminder that even in a world of glamour and fame, character is everything.